My name is Ava, and I'm 22 years old. You might be wondering how a girl my age ends up living with her uncle, especially given what I'm about to tell you. Honestly, I never imagined it either. Life doesn't always go where you plan. I study graphic design, long hours, late nights, deadlines, coffee. My life was simple until it wasn't. After my parents divorced, everything I knew about stability disappeared. I bounced between cities, relatives, and rented rooms until my mother had to leave for a work project overseas. I needed somewhere to stay, and that's how I ended up here, with my uncle Nathan and his wife, Victoria. They live in a quiet house far from the city, surrounded by trees and the kind of silence that feels almost heavy at first. I thought it would be a temporary stop, a place to focus on my studies and save money. I was wrong, because something happened that I still can't explain clearly, something that changed the way I saw Nathan forever. Before I tell you what happened, let me tell you about him. Nathan isn't just my uncle. He's the person who always seemed to hold everything together. Calm, kind, patient. The kind of man who fixes things before they break. Growing up, he taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with math when I was too proud to ask for help, even surprised me with my first car on my 18th birthday. So when Mom told me I'd be staying with him, I didn't hesitate. Victoria, his wife, was different. Older, elegant, but distant in a way I couldn't read. I respected her, but I never quite felt like I belonged in her house. She tried, offering advice about cooking or reminding me to take breaks, but our conversations always felt measured, like she was holding something back. Weeks turned into months. Life found a rhythm. I'd wake up early, work on my freelance projects, have breakfast with Nathan, exchange polite words with Victoria before she left for her job. On the surface, everything looked peaceful, but peace can hide many things. I started noticing how Nathan's presence filled the room even when he didn't speak. How his laughter could break the tension of the day. How his absence oddly left the house feeling colder. I told myself it was admiration, a kind of familial gratitude. That's what I wanted to believe. Until one evening changed everything. It was late. The house was quiet. Victoria had gone out with friends. I passed Nathan's room and saw the door slightly open, light spilling into the hallway. I thought he was awake, maybe reading. I called his name softly, but heard no answer. Something in me hesitated. I can't explain why, but I stepped closer. That was the moment I should have turned away. Because from that moment on, everything, every look, every silence started to mean something entirely different. When I looked through that half-open door, I expected to see nothing more than a man asleep. Nathan was lying on his back, one arm behind his head, breathing evenly. The window light softened every line of his face, and for a second I just watched. Calm, steady, ordinary. Then the guilt arrived, sudden and sharp. Why was I standing there? Why couldn't I move? The sound of a vase tipping over snapped me out of it. It hit the carpet with a dull thud, and Nathan stirred. His eyes opened, unfocused at first, then fixed on me. "Ava," he murmured, voice heavy with sleep. I froze. I didn't mean to wake you," I said quickly. He blinked a few times and gave a tired smile. "It's okay. I was just resting. Everything all right?" "Yeah," I said, stepping back. "I was just checking in." It should have ended there, but something unspoken passed between us, an awkward awareness neither of us knew what to do with. He sat up slowly, rubbing his temples. "You work too hard," he said softly. "You need to rest once in a while." I nodded, my heart still pounding. "You sound like Mom," I whispered, trying to laugh, but it came out uneven. He chuckled lightly, the tension easing for a moment. "Guess it runs in the family." When I left his room, the calm I expected didn't return. Instead, a strange restlessness followed me for days. I kept replaying that moment in my mind, the open door, his voice, the warmth in his tone that felt different somehow. From then on, the smallest things carried weight. When he asked how my projects were going, his kindness felt too personal. When he smiled, I caught myself smiling back too easily. I began avoiding eye contact, afraid of what he might see in mine. One evening, as we were clearing dinner, Nathan spoke quietly. "Ava," he said, "is everything okay? You've been distant lately." I wanted to tell him the truth, that I didn't know what was wrong with me, that confusion had replaced comfort, but the words wouldn't come. "I'm fine," I lied. He looked unconvinced, but didn't press further. Instead, he nodded and said, "You know, you can always talk to me." That night, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, his words echoing. "You can always talk to me." They sounded innocent, yet they stirred something I didn't understand. Was this connection real, or just something I'd built in my head? The next morning, I tried to push everything away, to focus on my work, my future, my independence. But denial has a way of feeding what it tries to starve. The more I ignored it, the stronger it became. It wasn't love. It wasn't even attraction, not really. It was loneliness meeting kindness and mistaking it for something else. And deep down, I knew that if I didn't face it soon, the silence between us would turn into something neither of us could undo. Days passed, and the air in the house grew heavy with unspoken things. Nathan didn't treat me any differently, but I sensed that he too had begun to feel the invisible wall between us. Fragile, but necessary. Victoria noticed the quiet tension, the careful pauses in conversation, the way both of us seemed to measure every word. She never said anything, but her eyes often lingered a little too long, as if she was waiting for one of us to speak first. One evening, she found me sitting in the garden after dinner, sketchbook on my lap, but no drawings on the page. She sat beside me in silence for a while before asking softly, "Ava, are you happy here?" Her question caught me off guard. I nodded too quickly. "Of course. You and Nathan have been amazing." She studied me, her tone gentle but firm. "You don't have to pretend. Sometimes people drift into feelings they don't understand. The important thing is knowing when to step back before they destroy something good." My chest tightened. I didn't answer. She didn't push. She just stood, touched my shoulder, and went back inside, leaving those words behind like a mirror I didn't want to look into. That night, I sat awake for hours, thinking about everything that had happened, or almost happened. It wasn't just guilt anymore. It was fear. Fear of losing myself in emotions that weren't real, of hurting people who had given me nothing but kindness. The next morning, I made a decision. I found Nathan in the kitchen, halfway through his first cup of coffee. "I need to move back to campus," I said, my voice trembling but clear. He looked up sharply. "Why? Did something happen?" I shook my head. "No, I just need some space. I think I've been too comfortable here. I need to remember who I am outside of this house." Nathan set his mug down slowly. There was a long pause before he nodded. "If that's what you need, I understand." He didn't ask for explanations, and I was grateful. We both knew more than we could say. When I packed my bags later that day, Victoria helped quietly, folding clothes and slipping a note into my suitcase when she thought I wasn't looking. I found it later, on the bus. Understanding the difference between love and loneliness is what keeps us human. You're stronger than you think. As the house disappeared behind me, I felt a strange mix of sorrow and relief. The distance hurt, but it also healed. For the first time in months, I could breathe without guilt. Looking back now, I know what really happened. Not a story of forbidden love, but of confusion, vulnerability, and the danger of mistaking comfort for connection. Nathan was never the villain, and neither was I. We were just two people lost in silence until one of us found the courage to step out of it. And that, more than anything else, changed everything.